Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our 8 a.m. series, now the Arsenal News Show. For those of you that joined us throughout January, when we're not in transfer season, what we do is we change this to the Arsenal News Show. We continue on. We keep talking about Arsenal, and for all of our sins, we continue to talk about Arsenal. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining me yesterday. There was a lot of shows, a lot of recordings, a lot of stuff, and we talked about loads. So thank you to everyone that did tune in. It was a really disappointing day, as we all very much know. But fingers crossed, Arsenal can now focus on the football, and we can focus on the football and trying to keep everybody fit, which is not going to be easy, is it? Let's be real, it's not going to be easy at all. Let's jump into the chat box. Good morning to everybody that's joining us today. Chris, good morning to you. Good morning to scroll up right to the top. Matt G, good morning to Mike. Good morning to Moksh. Good morning to Rich Cardew. Good morning to Daniel Roberts. Paul James, as well as always. Lots of regulars still joining us, still making this part of your morning routines. Fantastic to see. Rahil, Christopher J, G Norburn, James, Dave, John T. We've got Martin, James Nazru. We've got Social, Ty Gunnosaurus, and plenty more of you as well. I believe also we've got a new member. Pramod, thank you so much for joining up, mate. Really appreciate the support. Sure, you're already being welcomed massively so in the chat box. Dan Power saying, how's the hangover? The hangover from the transfer window is real. That's kind of where we're at this morning, isn't it? The hangover from the transfer window, which is, yeah, it's not great, is what it is. It's not great at all. Let's kick on, though, with the stories of the day, because there is plenty for us to talk through. We start off, as always, by telling you to go and subscribe to The Arsenal Way. We'll be doing our 9:30 a.m. shows Monday to Friday continually, so do join us on the channel and help us hit 10k over there and help us hit 30k over here. Very close to hitting that 30k number, so we'd really appreciate you guys jumping on and hitting that subscribe button. But we start off with kind of a roundup of what happened yesterday, because there was more outs. Players did leave. Amani Richards, under-18s player, left for Leicester on a permanent deal yesterday, so he will not be returning to Arsenal. He will continue on with Leicester. Didn't get the opportunities at Arsenal, it seems, and was happy to move on. Also, we saw Jordan Osei-Tutu leave. He joined Rotherham on loan. He spent the first half of the season at Nottingham Forest, didn't work out so well, was injured, came back and has now joined Rotherham. We have also got Tim Akinola, who left to join Dundee United on loan until the end of the season. Good move for him, really highly thought of, been playing regularly in the under-23s. Interesting to see how that unfolds. And Nikolai Moller joined Den Bosch in the second tier of the Dutch leagues. So he will play in the second tier of the Netherlands this last 6 months of the season. So a few loans to keep track of, but other than that, it was a very, very quiet day at Arsenal. Interestingly, Alexandre Lacazette was subject to a late bid from Lyon. However, he decided to stay, and Arsenal decided to kind of turn that down. He could probably join Lyon in the summer. In fact, I'd really be expectant of that deal happening now in the summer, seeing him leave to return to Lyon and join up with their main striking force in the final years of his career. So you can probably expect that to take place. And Arsenal did make a signing, as we discussed several times on yesterday's show. Auston Trusty joined from Colorado Rapids, 23-year-old left-footed centre-back, will return to Colorado Rapids to play the rest of the season before coming back to Arsenal, in which point he will then be sent out on loan. This deal bugs me. This deal really annoys me. Not because I don't think he's good, not because I don't think that he's got potential, but because it stinks of business. It stinks of favours. That's what it does to me. I really do find this as a deal that the Colorado Rapids are using Arsenal to enable a route into Europe. That's what I've seen. Some of the reports suggesting is that Arsenal are basically being used in this instance to find a route for Trusty into Europe, get him some game time, and then maybe a career elsewhere. But he would have to do really ridiculously well for him to get into a route into Arsenal, to be honest. It just, for me, it's like Arsenal were just being used as a loan company for a Colorado Rapids player. That's where we're at on that. I didn't know anything about him previous to yesterday, but reading up on a lot more over the last 12 hours or so, that's the way that it's coming through, is that Arsenal are basically used as a gateway into Europe for the player, which is annoying and not surprising considering Colorado Rapids are owned by KSE. So you've got that link between the two. When I wanted Arsenal to get kind of a feeder club, I didn't intend for Arsenal to be the feeder club. That's that's certainly not what I wanted. Anyway, continuing on, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang joined Barcelona on a permanent deal. We all know about this now. We discussed it a lot yesterday. It's a deal in which I think will save Arsenal a hell of a lot of money. £29 million is said what it's supposed to have saved Arsenal, which will open up the opportunity for Arsenal to sign a marquee striker in the summer. But what that is, we don't know. And we're a long, long way from the start now of next season. It will start earlier than usual because of the World Cup in the winter. But we're a long way from the start of August. And Arsenal will have a window that will be shorter than usual to try and get in a marquee striker, and they'll be able to do that. It's a real frustration that we've not brought in a replacement for a striker that could have scored goals. His form was awful. But if he was brought back, was reintegrated, did have those kind of clear the air talks that we've seen with other players like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, maybe things could have been different. I don't mind him going. It just bugs me that we didn't bring in a replacement. That's the problem for me. I've got no arguments with wanting to move him out and save those wages. I've got a problem with the fact that we've just allowed ourselves to be now so thin. And it's not like we didn't try. We know that we were after Dusan Vlahovic. We have it on authority from Espanyol that Arsenal did inquire, did call up about Raul de Tomas. That happened yesterday, so that was a guarantee. It is very well known that Arsenal were interested in Alexander Isak as well. So it's not like Arsenal didn't go for anyone in the final hours of the transfer window. Arsenal wanted a striker. They just left things really, really late, and the amount of times I sat there and said, oh, right, I appreciate them going after Dusan Vlahovic. It shows ambition, even though there's discrepancies and contradictions in reports. Charles Watt suggesting that Arsenal never really were in for him. But despite that, whether or not that's the case, Arsenal should have had contingencies. And we've seen other players move in that position in this window that could have really strengthened us, and we've not done that. A lot of people in the comment section felt I was quite overreactionary yesterday, felt like I was being overly negative about the situation. I don't think so. I don't agree. I think that I gave the window a 3 out of 10. I was on the Arsenal lounge yesterday and everyone gave it a 0 out of 10 besides myself. So in the context of that kind of crowds, I'm looking more positively, supposedly, but I still think it was an awful window. We got some good players out the door, good business regarding outs, but we didn't bring any money in, really. And we've left ourselves weaker in certain positions, which I find mad. I find mad that we've left ourselves weaker in a window where we needed to position ourselves in a stronger place before the end of this season. That's what really bugs me about this, is that this window was an opportunity to strengthen ourselves, to try and get top 4. An opportunity where we didn't have the distractions of Europe, didn't have the distractions of cup competitions. Man United, Chelsea, West Ham, none of those teams, strengthened. We had a real opportunity here to improve ourselves ahead of what was a great chance to get top 4, and we've not done that. That's my reasoning for why I'm so disappointed. I can appreciate what we've done in regards to getting players out the door and having an overhaul of the squad in that direction. I get that. But when you know that there's players that have moved during this window that could have improved us, it's not like saying there was no one out there, January was really hard, and we weren't really in for a striker. All those things aren't true. There were players out there, we were in for strikers, and we could have improved the squad. All of those things are true about this window. And that's why I am disappointed, and that's why I am pessimistic, or I'm looking at it in a negative way, because I just can't justify the missed opportunity of this window. What I will say, and what I will have more debates about, is about how much blame is placed on Arteta. I do feel there's a sense of maybe him not being backed. I feel like there's a sense of the hierarchy not giving enough during this window, not backing them financially. People reference the Vlahovic situation as them saying that we we were backed because we tried to get Vlahovic, but we haven't had that confirmed yet. So we don't know whether or not that was the case. We don't know how much money was available. We don't know how much Arteta was given to spend. But my reasoning, without knowing things and through, completely trying to grasp the idea of what happened through reasoning, is that they just simply did not deem the players they were looking at as good enough to join the team. And the strategy that they've put in place deemed possible targets not good enough to improve the squad. I don't know why Rahili travelled to Denver. That's still very, very unclear. Maybe that's something we'll find out about. Aubameyang situation, I hope that we find out a bit more about that, but it's very, very disappointing. And that's kind of where I'm at on Edu and Arteta and the hierarchy and what they've done. I'm not happy about it. I think that I've been very fair in my assessment of the window. I've appreciated the things that we've moved out. I don't appreciate the missed opportunities of this season. And that's kind of where I'm at. And that completes the main headlines of today, which means we now go into the chat box and answer your questions. So if you do have any questions, please do throw them into the chat, and I'm going to endeavour to answer as many of them as possible over the next 10 to 15 to 20 or so minutes. And if you haven't done so already, please do drop a like on the channel and subscribe. We are going to continue to do these shows at 8 a.m, even though the transfer window's done, bringing you all the latest Arsenal news throughout the season up to the end of the campaign and into the summer. Keep making this part of your routine. I know so many of you have messaged me thanking me for doing the show, and I appreciate the kind messages. I really do. And I know a lot of you really have this show as part of your mornings now. So it is, it's a duty to continue this on, and I intend to do so. I've also got a really great podcast planned for tonight, 5 o'clock UK time. Arsblog, Clive from Arsenal Vision, and Kevin Campbell all joining me to have a good chat for an hour about the transfer window and what we did and didn't do. So do set your alarms and your reminders for 5 o'clock this afternoon. I look forward to having a chat with those three about what happened. Anyway, let's get to your questions in the chat box. Okay, so let's jump and see what you guys are asking. Christopher says, Tom, have we signed Matt Turner or not? The understanding is that, yes, we have an agreement with the player. He will join in the summer. That's where we're at. It wasn't like officially announced or anything yet. Maybe it will be, but the understanding is that there is an agreement with New England Revolution to sign him for 7.58 million quid. That will rise to around 10 million with add-ons. In the summer, he will become Bernd Leno's replacement. We didn't need to bring him in officially now because Bernd Leno has stayed until at least the end of the season. So that's the situation. So as far as my understanding is that, yes, there is an agreement there. He will be an Arsenal player. He will just join in the summer. Matt G says, Tom, are we the only team to have actually weakened our squad at the end of the transfer window? No, Man United are as well. Man United have weakened their squad through means under and out of their control. So, yes, we're not the only team that have weakened things and come out of the window worse off than we were at the beginning. Neil De Souza says, why some Arsenal fans justify the lack of transfers from this club is really annoying. Look, Neil, you may find it annoying because it's a different point of view to yours. And when we see people putting forth opinions that we ourselves don't hold, it can be annoying, yes. But I think yesterday we showed on the members show when we were joined by a fantastic group of members from our Discord server. In particular, Chris and Vinny put across kind of the opinion of the other side, their reasoning behind it, as did Dan and Ludwig as well, did some really good explaining of why they're feeling, a little bit more optimistically about things. So I think you should remove the word annoying and try and put maybe frustrating. Maybe you'd be frustrated by it, but actually, listen to the other side, listen to the views and try and get a better understanding of why other people feel the way that they do. Ty Gunnosaurus says, will we get 3 strikers, 2 defensive midfielders, a backup right back, a centre defensive midfielder, or a centre back, maybe I think you mean, right winger in the summer? We could do. We signed 6 players in the summer of last season, not including any youth signings either. So there is no reason why we could not also pull off another big summer, especially after we didn't spend anything this January and we saved a lot in wages and got a lot of players off the squad. So there's no reason and there's no excuse either in the summer. I think that a lot of people that will tell you that this has been a positive window because we got a lot of players out, I think a lot of them will agree that there isn't now any excuses for the summer. There isn't any excuse, there isn't any reasoning behind us not getting some really solid reinforcements in ahead of the next season. I think that's for sure. Lalietta says, that will be one hell of a podcast. I look forward to bringing it to you this afternoon. Tom Beck says, question, Tom, do you think that KSE didn't back because of our current league position? No, I don't think it's the reason. I just don't think they were able to get the players they wanted. I think that's honestly the reason. Jonathan says, do you believe the rumour that we inquired about Darwin Nunez? I've not heard that personally, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case because we inquired about a lot of players. Cam says, everything you've said and your view is 100% correct, Tom. Not negative at all. 200% realistic. Joel says, Edu out, Vinay out, Arteta out, Kroenke out, Arsenal Twitter admin out. I tell you what, the Arsenal admin had me laughing and, laughing at them rather than with them. I was laughing at the social media feed on Arsenal, to be honest. The pictures of Lacazette coming out and the interview of Lacazette is just how political is that? How much of a spin is that? Oh, mate, we aren't idiots. We know what they're doing. Mogos says, Arteta is the face of the club. He's going to be left facing difficult questions when the going gets tough for the rest of the season. Edu is going to get a free ride. I hope that Edu is questioned. I hope that he is approached about an interview like we saw after the summer window. Don't come out after you've signed 6 players in the summer. Come out now, after we've brought no one in. Face the music and answer the questions. That's what we want. We want consistency. If you're going to come out when things are good, looking good that we've signed players and spent more than any other window, great. But I want to know that our technical director will come out when the pressure's on. And when there are lots of really difficult questions to answer, and there are a lot of questions that we need answers to. That's when I want to see Edu come out into the press and speak. That's what I want to see. Mo says, Tom, do you think we can no longer attract the big names out there? I think we are going to struggle to attract the level of players that will choose Juve. I think when you think back to the golden era of Arsenal, we could compete with teams like Juventus in the market. Signing players from Juventus, Thierry Henry, for instance. I know it wasn't an integral part of their team when we signed him, but, being able to sign certain players like Robert Pires and players like this level, we're not in the same bracket. We don't have the same level of attraction because players didn't grow up watching the early 90s or rather, the 89s or the mid 90s success or the late 90s success or the early part of the 2000s. They grew up watching an Arsenal qualify for the Champions League consistently but not win anything. And that's the difference where we're kind of at now. Karuzan says, hi Tom, amazing work, still providing us with the excellent content pretty much every 8 a.m. Yeah, only not yesterday because I was working, to be fair. Question, where do you think Arsenal will finish at the end of the season? What would still be a success? A success is top 4. And I say that because we could have got it, or we could have strengthened our chances. If we'd have strengthened this window, if we'd have backed Arteta with a striker, a midfielder, I would actually have more lenience about, say, finishing 5th. But the fact that we didn't actually gives me more reason to be frustrated if we don't finish top 4, rather than if we did strengthen and still didn't. And that may seem a bit backwards, but the reason is because I'm so frustrated with not taking this opportunity to strengthen and to not succeed in the market during this window to improve when players have moved that I feel would have improved us. I will be more disappointed. My ambitions was top 6 at the start of the season. My ambitions change, and I don't think that it's fair to turn around and say, what were your ambitions at the start of the season? It's not then fair to change those parameters halfway through. I don't think that's fair because the season brings up lots of different talking points. The season presents new opportunities. And if you fail to take the opportunities to take that next step to go even further, I think you have to take that into consideration when you see where you finish. If we have a really good run and say we're really unlucky in the second half of the campaign and there are instances that cost us that are out of our control, which are going to be tough to find, to be honest, because injuries and stuff like that we should have been better prepared for. But say there are some really controversial decisions and stuff like that cost us big points in games, then maybe we can have more of a leniency and a discussion about it. But for right now, I would be really upset with not getting top 4 because I would have felt like we could have done and we didn't do enough to try and get it. Robert says, do you think Kroenke is selling us, hence the wage stripping? No, I don't think so. Vinny says, Tom, so who are we signing? Jack Wilshere, Diego Costa, Aubameyang or Ramirez? I tell you what, Jack Wilshere, I don't think he signed for anyone. So, and that's a real shame that he didn't get a club from the sounds of things. I mean, I don't unless I've missed something in the last few hours or so. He's not signed for anyone. He was wearing the number 12 shirt while in Dubai. Whether that means anything, I don't know, but that's an interesting one, the fact that he didn't sign for anyone. Franklin says, Tom, isn't it obvious from Edu's opening season interview that there was no target this season? The only target this season was to get the new signings playing and see the level that we are at. I think when you listen back to Arteta's interview, he'll tell you, and his quotes indicate that actually top four is always the target. And whilst I understand what Edu was saying, is that they weren't going to put a number on things right now, they wanted to see what happened when the team's together, there is still this ambition to get Arsenal back to the Champions League. And that is always the expectation, as Arteta has said himself. Desi says, these players all gone in the summer. Arteta not playing. Laka, Eddie, Pepe, Xhaka holding, Leno and Cedric. We're going to have to replace these. I mean, Laka, Eddie, El Neni, all out of contract. Trying to think if there's anyone else that I'm missing. But there's going to be players on 1 year left of their deal. Leno, for instance, is going to be on just that 1 year. I don't think Pepe has got long left on his. I think he's got 2 years. I think Saliba will have 2 years. So, look, we've got some work. We got work to do. A lot of work to do. James says, time to get behind the team now. Absolutely. What I will say, James, is this is absolute the point. We can be critical, and we're going to be critical. We've got 10 days still to be critical about the window. But as soon as Wolves comes round, we're behind them. And we wanted them to win. And we wanted them to win well. And we've got 17 cup finals between now and the end of the season to try and get Champions League. And we want Arsenal to win every single one of those games. We want us to be in a position in the summer where we've got Champions League football and that we can try and attract some great players ahead of a season that could be great. I don't believe we prepared ourselves in the best possible way with this winter, but we are absolutely behind the team. And if you're not, I question your fandom, to be honest. But we are absolutely hoping that Arsenal can pull off something incredible this season. But it will be in spite of this window if we achieve top four. It won't be because of this window. It will be in spite of it. That is the issue. Let's scroll down a little bit more because I feel like I'm missing some of the more recent questions. Let's go to Answer, who says, Tom, with Guimaraes gone and Arsenal rejecting 18-month loan for Arta, which midfielder do you think they consider suitable for the summer window? Great question, Answer, and one that we will certainly be discussing in a lot more detail closer to the time because we'll have to wait and see. I like Tyler Adams, you know I do. I look at him as a very, very good midfielder. I think Yuri Tielemans is a name that will come up once again. I think Yuri Tielemans will leave Leicester in the summer. Arsenal are interested. Arteta loves the guy. There was talk that he could leave in January, but that didn't happen. I didn't think it would do, but I think that in the summer Arsenal will go and try and get Yuri Tielemans. Jonathan says, West Ham, Arsenal, Man United, which of these clubs do you think had the worst winter? Manchester United and West Ham had worse windows than Arsenal, without a shadow of a doubt. And that goes a long, long way. Man United have lost a lot of key players. Man United have got areas that they also needed to strengthen. West Ham, if you think about the opportunity that West Ham have got this year, the fact that they've left themselves with just one clear striker, to be honest, that is poor. And David Moyes is doing a great job of masking a lot of the failures of that window. So I actually weirdly think that Man United and West Ham had worse windows than Arsenal, because Arsenal still at least managed to do some good things regarding outgoings. So, but Man United and West Ham have given Arsenal hope. Tottenham have strengthened. I'd say strengthened. They've improved their depth. They've not really improved their starting 11, but they've improved their depth. I rate Tanguy Ndombele as a player, and so him going, I think, is just a waste of talent, to be honest. I think he was one of the best signings that they've made, but it just didn't work. I don't think he's been used properly. Bentancur is not a better player than an Ndombele used correctly at all. So I don't think that they've progressed their team. The other teams in the top four contention, Chelsea, haven't signed anyone. But, the only player that they're really going to be looking at was a left-back. You could argue now that they're very short there. That could be a bit of a problem for them if say, Alonso gets injured or Azpilicueta gets injured, he can cover. or Hudson-Odoi gets injured, maybe they'll find some problems. And then Wolves are very good. Wolves are got a very good side. So I just think Arsenal have missed the opportunity, to be honest, to close the gap or strengthen the gap between themselves and those other teams. Crucial says, I question fan with those calmly watching Arteta destroy our club. Again, I do think I think a lot of people are putting a lot of energy on this window onto Arteta, and I do think the energy on this window should definitely be looked more at the hierarchy than Arteta. I'm not saying that he's absolved of any kind of blame, but there is a strong argument that he hasn't been backed in this window to sign players. But then there's an argument to suggest that he's not signed off on some players. It's impossible to know, I suppose. Any news about a takeover, says Game Boy? No. No, in fact, we're probably furthest from a takeover we've ever been, to be fair, because Daniel Ek tried to sort a sponsorship deal with Arsenal for Spotify. That broke down, and ironically, that's going to go to Barcelona now, where Aubameyang's also gone. Let's go to Dave, who says, so in conclusion, no one around us actually did any better than we did. Not really, Dave. That is kind of the reality. But that in itself, Dave, makes me more frustrated. It makes me more frustrated because it's the opportunity missed to, open a gap or close a gap, or, just do something to improve in comparison to your rivals. That's the frustration for me. Whereas in the summer, Man United, Spurs, Chelsea, they're all going to look to strengthen. West Ham, you would think, would as well. They're always going to look to get better. Man United are going to bring in a new coach, which could be a Pochettino. It could be a Ten Hag. I think it'll be a Pochettino, who, is a better current manager than Ralph Rangnick. And Ralph Rangnick will do a really good job in that consultancy, technical director of football kind of role that he's got. So they're going to get better. Their decision making is going to get better. So that's the frustration for me. Stepan says, don't you think a player like Weghorst, who was signed by Burnley, could have also helped Arsenal? I absolutely do. I really don't think that's an overreaction to suggest that a 6'5" striker, when we put 33 crosses into the box against Burnley, ironically, could have helped us with a goal or two. Muggsy says, how are we going to break down Wolves now when we couldn't get one past Burnley? Let's keep our fingers crossed that something miraculous happens, and we see the Arsenal that were breaking down Norwich and Leeds and Southampton and West Ham. Let's hope we see that team, because we haven't seen that team in quite some time. I think a lot of it's to do with our lack of midfield, and hopefully having Partey and Xhaka back for that game will help. But that's a big, big hope. It's a big if. Matt says, Tom, did you watch Guimarães' announcement video? Was he or his team throwing shade at Arsenal? Hey, look, I don't know if the player has to sign off, but it stinks of saltiness. That's what it stinks to me of. Absolute saltiness. Elbach says, why is it Edu's fault when we don't buy players? Then we make good signings, we praise Arteta. It's a good point. Like, Arteta got a lot of praise from myself in the summer for a lot of the signings that we made. I think that the praise for Arteta does come from the identification of some of those players. That Arteta kind of got praise for being the one that pushed for a Ramsdale, pushed for White, pushed for Tomiyasu, pushed for Ødegaard. But actually, this window, the reason why Arteta's not getting as much stick as maybe as much praise as he got in the summer is because maybe he had targets, maybe he had the names just like he did in the summer, but Edu and the hierarchy didn't get them done, didn't get him the players that he wanted. Let's be real, Arteta's wanted to strengthen. He's spoken in the press conferences. He wanted to get us players. He wanted us to improve. He wanted us to sign people, but knew that the team and the hierarchy were struggling to get those deals done. So that's why I think that Edu is getting more of the flack, to be honest, than Arteta is. Alfonso says, Tom, do you think the outlook of the pandemic will hinder us to make additional signings, especially in January? Do I think that the pandemic affected us to sign players? No, I don't. I don't think it did. I think you've seen players move that would have improved us. So that's why I don't think you can blame it on the pandemic, to be honest. Anna says, did Arsenal sign? As far as we're aware, mate, they have an agreement with the team and that'll happen in the summer. Adam says, Tom, trying to get over the disappointment and make sense of things is the only way that would explain not signing a centre-forward would be that Aubameyang's replacement and the Laka one were unavailable. They were unavailable, you're right. The ones that they wanted were unavailable. But the point is, Adam, and the problem is, and the argument against that is that there were players that could have improved us in the striking position that moved this window, that were available. So the ones that they may have wanted weren't, But that's not to say that they are then absolved of any blame, because strikers that were good enough to improve us and to give us something did move. But I'm going to be writing a lot more about that today. Speaking of which, I need to wrap up because I need to get ready to do that and to start work. So if you have enjoyed the show, and even if you haven't, please do drop a like on the video. There's nearly 800 of you watching, even though the transfer window's closed. We are going to continue to do these shows at 8 a.m, bringing you all the latest Arsenal news at 8 a.m. every single morning and doing our usual Q&A session. So please do make sure you're subscribed and joining us at 8 a.m. every day. Join me at 9:30 over on the Arsenal Way as well this morning. Link is in the description. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. 30,000 subs is very, very close. So please do help and show your support. And then I'll be back on this channel at 5 o'clock this afternoon with Arsblog, Clive from the Arsenal Vision podcast, and former Arsenal striker Kevin Campbell. So do make sure you join us at 5 p.m. to have a whole breakdown of the window. I will see you very, very soon. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and worst day of the week, Tuesday. It really is. But hopefully we can make it a bit better for you. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.